Chalo, we'll start today LO extraction. So let's start about the basic. What is the extraction, LO extraction? As we discussed that there are the certain extractors are available. We can say application specific and cross application specific. When you're talking about cross application specific, we have a LO data sources. Logistic data sources are nothing but it's a group of data sources where we have made this group name is a logistic, which is, we can say all the business applications are followed under this group. How can I check what is a logistic applications? Log on to your SAP ECC system, enter your username and password. In a welcome screen or SAP Easy Access screen, you can see there is an option called Logistics. If you open this, expand this, you can see whatever the applications are this, whatever the data sources belongs to these applications, all these data sources falls under Logistics data sources, or we can call LO data sources. Okay, so material management, sales and distribution, logistics, executions and all this stuff. If you see this, how this logistic data sources has been constructed, if you open internet, you can see any like a invoice, like a bill, receipt. Take for example any bill receipt. Okay, which bill? Yes, I think this is good. If you see here, please, if you observe this bill, they have sections here. So first, actually what they did is, in LO extraction, they divided the document into three parts. The first part, they said it is a header. This is called header level. Whatever the items you see here, they say that it is item level. Then whatever the rest of see you can the bottom of the screen, they said it is a scheduler level. So all the data sources will be divided, the data will be divided into three data sources. Whatever the data comes to the LO data sources, like for example SD or MM or anything, they divided into three parts: header level, item level, scheduler level. So here I can say header level data source, item level data source, schedule level data source. So one single document data has been divided into three data sources. How do I check all these things? It's very simple. As we discussed earlier, as a display to you, if you go to the data sources, right? If you go to RSA5, expand SAP application component, for example, MM falls under LO extraction. Expand MM. If you just come down here, wherever the data source you see, item level, can you see here? Item. What is this? Purchasing data item level. What is this? Header. Purchasing data header level. What is this? Purchasing data scheduler level. But all belongs to purchasing data only. They divide into three parts. So this is called LO data sources. You can see item level here, header level here, one more. Okay. Here we have a scheduler level also. Here it is. Schedule line level. Okay. So this is called your LO extraction data source. Not only this module, any module if you go, whatever the modules are group of, part of group into LO, that data should be like this. See, can you see here? Sales. I am into sales data source. Sales module. SD module. Under here I have a header data, item data, schedule line data. Okay. So go to any module, whatever the modules falls under LO group, that modules contains this kind of data sources, we call that is called LO data sources. But it is a new technology or technique to extract the logistic related data which contains a series of standard extract structure delivered in the business content. So it is a predefined. You don't need to create anything. So for example, let's say that I have on a scenario here, eBay daily they have thousands of transactions happening all over the world. So to analyze the business yearly, monthly basis, these guys, they move to SAP BW so that they can generate the reports and take business decisions. As a BW consultant, you load all the data which has captured till yesterday. That is a full load from SAP R/3 into BW. You do full load for this. After completing this task, you need to load the transaction data that will happen from tomorrow onwards to BW. That is called delta. This can be done either daily, weekly or monthly based on the volume of the transaction. There are two types of loads, full load, delta load. You know very well what is the difference in between full and delta. Okay, so how this full load happens in a LO extraction scenario? Let's take the scenario here. I have a data flow here. If any user create a new document, if I am loading this document first time by using a LO extraction, so the data will be divided into two tables. These two tables we call it as applications. It might be two tables, it might be three tables, depends on what data you're creating. Sales order creation, it goes to BBAK, BBAP. There are other tables also goes, but I'm taking only two tables for this scenario. Then it will create a communication structure. Communication in between where to where? The communication in between your tables. Then it will create a communication structure. It starts with MC followed by your table name. Okay, you guys need to go on a mute. Raj, go on a mute. Okay. So once it creates communication structure, then there is a setup table concept comes in between. In between where? In between your data source and your tables. Okay. So I'll tell you why it is coming in between. Then if it is a setup table, then I have to go for only full load. If I am loading first time the data into this data source by using this data source, I am loading a first time, that should be full. If it is a full, then setup tables comes. Why it comes, we'll talk about later. Once if you create a full, once you load the full data, it will create extract structure at your data source level. Then this will send it to the BW by using RSDS. RSDS is replicating the data source. When a data source is available in a BW, I will double click on this data source, I will change and activate. Then I will look for what is a suitable info provider. For what? For this data source. Then I will create transformation. Then I will create DTP. So this is what we do. Normal process. Now let's talk about setup table. Why the setup table concept is coming to the picture? Earlier it was not there. The reason because your data source doesn't have a permission to directly contact with your tables, to extract the data from the tables. So it is not provide you permissions to you. Then setup table is, I can say it is a mediator. I don't want to use the word called mediator, but setup table we are using here to extract the data from the tables to the setup table, then from setup table to the data source. It is only for full. Okay, what sir, in case if I have a delta, you are loaded. For example, I have loaded 100 records into my info cube. That is through the full load. Tomorrow I will get new records. Then what is the data flow? If it is a new records, the data flow will be like this. The setup, through the setup process, this is setup table, the full load is done. Now let's come to the delta. Whenever you get a new record again, if anybody creates a new record, it goes to communication structure, but not to the setup table. It goes to the update modes because it is a delta record. What updates modes I have? I have three types of update modes. Un-Serialized V3 delta, direct delta, Q delta. By default is direct delta. Okay. Then from this it goes to delta Q. What is the transaction code for delta Q? RSA7. Then it goes to your extraction structure or data source. This is for delta. This is for full load. Guys, is it clear now?
Yes, clear.
Okay. So once you've done this one, then we need to talk a little more about what is a setup table concept. Let's talk about setup table concept. Then you will get more clarity on this. Okay. Let's go back here. Setup tables. What is the purpose of setup tables? Access to the application tables. For what purpose we access application table? For data. Are not permitted directly. Hence, setup tables are there to collect the required data from the application tables. When data load fails, you can rerun the load to pull the data from the setup tables. The data will be there in the setup tables always. Okay? If you want to do one more load, then we'll delete this data. For example, I'm loading a sales data. I will load into my data source. Still data will be there in the setup table. Tomorrow I want to do the material management, MM. I will delete the setup table data. I will reload again. Setup tables are used to initialize the delta loads and for full load. It is a part of LO extraction scenario. With this option, you can avoid pulling the data from R/3 directly, as we need to bring the field values from multiple tables. You can see the data in the setup tables always. This is called setup table concept. Okay. So what are the functions of LO-COCKPIT? It maintains the extract structure, nothing but enhancement. Extract structure is nothing but it opens what on the extraction you can do, enhancement you can do in a data source. You can add new fields, you can delete existing fields and all this stuff. It maintains your data source, activates your update V3 job controls, and we have a delta modes also, direct delta, Un-Serialized V3 delta, Q delta. Let's check it out. What and all LO-COCKPIT will provide us. I can say LO-COCKPIT is a centralized administration tool for all logistic application of extract structures. Extract structure ante, so don't get confusion that what is this a hi-fi word extract structure. It is nothing but your enhancements, data source. We use it to transfer logistic transformation data from OLTP system, that is called SAP R/3, into OLAP system, that is called SAP BW. The extract structure are filled by R/3 communication structure of the individual logistic application. So first communication structure will be filled up, then it will send the data to extraction structure. Setup table, it is also called restructure table. It is used to perform full updates in LO-COCKPIT mechanism. The technical name of setup table will be XXX, ends with the setup. What is XX? Name of your extraction structure. How it will create the name. For example, if your data source name is 2LIS_02_item, ITM, then your extraction structure will be created based on this name. How it will take? It is taking 2 from here, then add M. Okay. Then it will take 0 from here, then ITM from here. Say 0 ITM. Then setup table, how setup table will create? It will take whole the thing of your extraction structure till here. Till here is your extraction structure name. Only ends with setup. The technical name of the setup table will be constructed this scenario like this. Okay. Initialization of setup tables includes 2 activities: deletion of the data from setup table, filling of the data from the setup table. The question is, after filling the data to the setup table, why should I delete? Can you answer me?
The setup.
Why should I go for deletion?
Is this a kind of an internal table?
The question is,
I'm not sure.
when I fill up the setup table, why should I go for deletion? Deletion of the data.
Means for full upload, we'll set the setup table will be created. Maybe for the delta upload kind of thing, it is not required.
Yeah, but the thing is, actually, I told you that whenever you load the data and to fill the data into setup table, the data will be there.
Yes.
Okay. Even the data will be failed of loading from ECC system, we can still get the data in the setup table. We can repeat the setup data from the setup table to BW. We can do that one. So there will be data always in the setup table. What in case if I want to load from different data, different modules? This data is already there. Then what I do? Let's delete this, fill up again. If it is working with a new module.
Okay.
That's the reason we do for only that situation. How do you delete the data from setup table? The transaction codes are LBWG
Okay.
and SC14. But again, there is a two scenarios. If you want to use LBWG, delete data from all the setup table belongs to that application. No, in case if you want to use, for example, a particular specific setup table, if you know the technical name of the setup table, go for SC14. You know very well, right? How do you find out setup table name? I told you.
Yes.
Then you can enter SC14, you can enter the setup table, particular setup table technical name. Only that data will be deleted. How do I fill up the setup table? It is also called statical setup. How do we fill up this one? Let's check it out. Transaction code SBAW. Enter this. Expand data transfer SAP BW warehouse. Then expand settings for application specific. Then expand logistics. There you have LBWE is called customization, logistic extraction, customizing cockpit, LBWE. Either you can enter this transaction code or you can click on execute button. If you want to see the BW log, you can click on execute button or you can enter the transaction code for LBWF. If you want to delete the data, LBWG, there is no execution button. Then what happens? You need to expand this initialization. Can you see there is a button called expandation? If you expand, the initialization will be expanded. Can you see here? Initialization is expanded here. The log is there, initialization. Then you can delete the setup table. There is an execution button is there to delete the setup table. So you can delete the setup table here by clicking on execution or LBW. What is the transaction code? Raj, what is the transaction code to delete?
LBWG.
You have to remember this. Otherwise, in interview they're going to ask you this question.
Okay.
LBWG is a damn sure 100,000 times sure question. Wow, how do you delete the setup table? How do you fill the setup table? Let me show you that. This is gone in sleep mode. Okay. What is the transaction code? SBI W. Go here. Expand logistics. Okay. If you expand the logistics, you have a maintain exact structure, BW log, you have all these things. Can you see here? Maintaining extraction structure. Activate and edit extraction structure. Okay, BW log, initialization, expand initialization, delete the setup table. Click on this, it will delete. Or LBWG or SE14. Then filling up the setup table. There is no transaction code for filling up the setup table. You have to expand this. If you expand, it is going to ask you application specific data. Expand this again. Here you have all your application. What application data you are working? For example, say I am working with the purchasing data. Then come here. This is your purchasing data. Why I am not getting a pen? I got a pen now. Okay, I am working with the purchasing data. Come here, execute this. The purchasing data setup table will be filled up. I am working with the sales and distribution. There is a sales billing document. Come here, execute. Your sales setup table will be filled up. I am working with, for example, invoice. This X. Based on your data, what type of data source you are working? Are you working with the purchasing, SD, material management, or quality management? So you need to come here, expand this filling up setup table, then select the particular the data. Click on this execution button. Your setup table will be filled up. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So this is how we need to set up. Okay. Once you've done this, go back. Advantages of LO-COCKPIT. Performance, high performance and volume of data I can handle. Simple handling. Standardization of logistic solution. No LIS function. What is LIS? Before LO-COCKPIT logistic extraction, we used to call it as a LIS functionality. That is called old method. If anybody asks you, do you know LIS? You should say, I don't know LIS, I know LO-COCKPIT. It is no more available. It is an old method. Now latest technology is LO-COCKPIT. Okay. Why we call it as a cockpit? Any idea what is a general cockpit? Have you seen anywhere cockpit?
The aeroplane.
Yes. What does it contains? All the buttons or all the controlling options are there in front of you. So the same thing, as of now you have not seen any data source that many options. In this LO-COCKPIT you're going to see one screen. You have a enhancement button, you have a update button, you have a delta button, you have a job control buttons. All the controlling buttons are in one screen. That's the reason we call it a cockpit. What is the steps LO-COCKPIT? Step by step. First thing is we have to maintain the extract structure. What fields you want, what fields you don't want in the data source. Then maintain the data source. Replicate data source in BW. Assign info source is a 3.5 version. Don't worry about this one. Maintain extract structure, communication structure, transfer rule. This is a transfer rule again 3.5. So this will be maintained by system. So we don't maintain by default manually. Maintain info cube and update rules. Update rules again 3.5 version. See guys, a transfer rule, update rule, both are combined plus made it as transformation in 7.0. Is it clear?
Okay. Yes.
3.5 there was a transfer rule, update rules. There is no concept called update rule, transfer rules in 7.3, 7.4. It is transformations we call. Okay. Maintain info cube. Yes. We don't create manually, but we'll get what is a suitable data target. Activate extract structure. Then we'll activate our data source. Delete the data in the setup table first if anybody loaded. Okay, fine. Then we'll fill up the setup table. Info package for delta initialization. If you want to delta, set up the what type of delta you want to do it. 1 second, where we missed. Yes. What type of update you want. Then what is a delta method for your info package. First I need to create info package for initialization. That will happen full load. You are aware of this one, right? Then I'll create one more info package for delta load. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. We have update modes as we discussed. Direct delta, queue delta, unserialized. Direct delta is default. Transaction code is RSS7. You know what is a delta queue, right? That is called direct delta. Queue delta is LBWQ SM01, SM02. Un-Serialized V3 update SM13, SM14, RSS7. Let's find out what is this one by one. First, direct delta. What is a direct delta? It's a default. Every time the document in SAP has SAP ERP system created, changed or deleted, the change is directly written to the delta queue. What is a delta queue? Transaction code. Raj. Oh, Sureka join back, huh? Okay. What is the transaction code for delta queue, Sureka? No, not aware of this? Raj, can you hear me?
No, Kiran.
No, Kiran.
RSS7 guys, why no?
Oh shit.
You have to remember these are very important transaction codes. It is interview, RSA5, RSA6, RSA7, RSA3. If you don't know this, don't go for interview. Very simple, I'm telling you. You have to remember, you have to know the clarity about what is this transaction codes. Okay, now LO-COCKPIT. I'm going to give you more transaction codes in LO-COCKPIT. LO-COCKPIT, there might be a first question answer interview. I'm telling you. Without LO-COCKPIT, there won't be any BW interview. Maybe COPA also they may not going to ask you. They can give option. You can say I don't know COPA also, they can give a job. But if you say I don't know LO-COCKPIT, they don't give you job. Very simple. So all the guys, they have to learn LO-COCKPIT perfectly before going for interview. They're going to ask you what is a data flow, how the data moves in a LO extraction, what is a setup table, why the setup table concept is there, when I use, what is the update modes, what is the delta modes. This is a damn sure questions. If you clear this LO-COCKPIT section in interview, you are selected. Nobody will ask you how to design info cubes, how to design info object. That is very basic questions. They're going to ask you, this is a major question. Chalo, delta, direct delta is this. If anything is created, changed or deleted in ERP system, the change is directly returned to the delta queue. That is direct delta. That is a default. What if I change to queue delta? If you use this method, the extraction queue accumulate the posted document. What is a posted document? Newly created document or changed document. So it will accumulate the posted document. A collective run is required to read the data from the extraction queue and transfer the delta queue. So what happens is, if I use delta queue, the data will be directly loaded into delta queue if it is a newly created, changed or deleted. But if you use delta, queue delta, there is a one process is running. What process is running? The extraction queue is accumulating the posted document, then it is running a collective run is required. What it is doing? It is reading the data. From where? From extraction queue. So in between the RSA7, this is a delta queue, and your newly created document. If I want to send directly to here, that is a direct delta. Direct delta. What if I use queue delta? Queue delta going to extraction queue in between. The record will goes to here. It will read the record. Then the record will be posted to the RSA7, the delta queue. That is called queue delta. So the queue delta is queuing the record into one place called extraction queue. This is called extraction queue. Then the record will be posted into delta queue. This is called delta queue. This method can be used when the number of documents posted is large. Yes, I don't want to dump all the number of records into delta queue. So I am sending the records here. All the number of records goes and sit down here. Then the records will be posted to one by one here. That is called queued. The name itself says queued. Is it clear, guys?
Yes.
Then Un-Serialized V3 update or Un-Serialized V3 delta. This method stores the posted document data in an update table. There is a one table is coming in between. Using V3 collective run. Okay, again same thing. This is a RSA7. This is your delta queue. Delta queue. Why everything should goes to delta queue? Because from here only it will goes to your data source. From here it will goes to your BW. That's why delta queue is very important. Okay. If I use Un-Serialized V3, then what happens? If anybody create a new document, the document will goes to a table called update table. Okay. From here it goes here. Same similar to queue delta only, but queue delta there is an extraction queue, but here table is there. It goes to table, from the table it goes to delta queue. This is called Un-Serialized V3 delta. So which happens before the data is written to the delta queue. Then we have a delta queue RSA7. It has two modes. Delta update is a default one. That is your delta queue. RDI mode, delta repetition mode. So why should I use delta repetition? When the delta mode fails, we use delta repetition. If it is fails, we'll go for this. If it is not failed, we don't need this. We always use this only by default. That is called delta Q modes. Then we're going to see how to load logistic transaction data from SAP R/3 into BW system. Fine. Chalo, we see this tomorrow because it is a big class. We'll see tomorrow. Any questions, guys, today?
Nothing given. Okay.
You need to understand how the delta LO-COCKPIT works. But if I show you this example, theoretical clarity. Now you know only theoretical, right? Theoretical knowledge you have.
Yes.
Tomorrow you see and more.
Mhm.
Thank you. Bye.